friend of mine bought his dream guitar for $500 less than asking price, and all it cost him was 6 seconds of silence. No negotiation, no weird sales tactics, just an offer and silence. And I want to tell you all about this story, but I want to acknowledge that most salespeople know they need to do this, but it's their own wiring that stops them. And here's why. Silence is a wiring test, not a technique. So the silence that follows a question is where the deal happens. But the issue is you sense the silence as danger and your nervous system just starts screaming. Most people feel the silence, not because they're trying to sell harder, but that they just can't tolerate the discomfort. Their wiring reads the quiet as danger. So they soften the question, maybe they over-explain, and in turn, they stop their prospect from being able to fully answer the question. That discomfort is the price of the close. So what is the silence actually doing? When you ask a question and then shut up, 3 things happen at once. The prospect feels the weight of the question and has to actually think. And the quality of what they say dramatically shifts than if you jumped in. By giving them that time to process and feel the weight of the question, the answer you get is far more in-depth and far more honest. So the silence isn't empty, it's where the deal moves. So you can't fake this, you can only train it. And I guess you can only train it by sitting in it and understanding the patterns underneath of why your wiring, your nervous system is screaming in silence. Now this is different for everybody. So here's some examples. Do I have this need to be in control? Do I have this need to over-explain everything because I really want someone to fully understand what I'm saying? Can I see every single path in front of me? And do I want my prospect to see all those paths and then make the best decision? Or maybe I can already see with absolute clarity the best decision possible, and I just want to make them realize that's what it is. Maybe I've got an analytical brain and I'm fascinated by data. I want to over talk about all the data points and all the options, and I just overwhelm them. Silence fixes all of these things, but there's a pattern interrupt underneath that we need to know and understand first before we can effectively utilize silence. Find that part of you that reads silence as danger, and then flip that trait to serve you and let it understand and learn that silence isn't dangerous, it's productive. So back to the story about my mate and his guitar. He saw this ad online for a secondhand guitar. I think it was like a Fender Jaguar. Dream guitar he always wanted one. And the asking price was like $2,500. And he said to me, dude, I love this guitar. I've always wanted one, but there's no way I could afford this. And I said, well, what would you pay? And he goes, maybe $1,800, maybe $2,000. And I said, okay, we're not going to know unless we try. And here's the plan. I want you to go and try this guitar. And if you like it, make the guy the offer. We're going to have $2,000 in cash in the envelope. And you're going to make him the offer. You're going to put the envelope of cash on the table. And you're going to say nothing. And you're just going to wait for him to say yes or no. And the worst thing is he says no and you leave. And if he says yes, you've got your own guitar. But the whole key of this, the whole point, the whole strategy is that you say nothing. No negotiating, no sales tactics, just silence. So we pull up to this bar where this guy's working, who's selling the guitar. My mate's kind of psyching himself up, getting the courage to do it. And he goes in, and I'm waiting outside. And 12 minutes later, he walks out, guitar in his hand, biggest grin on his face. And he's like, dude, I cannot believe that worked. And he did exactly that. Tried the guitar, bit of chat, and he said, look, I know you don't want $2,500, but I've got $2,000 right here. And he said he put the envelope of cash on the table, and 5 or 6 seconds went by, which felt like an eternity. And the seller just went, fine, and took it. They shook hands, and my mate left with his dream guitar. And here's the thing, no negotiation, no sales tactics, just an offer and silence. And I think most salespeople will ruin a deal because they will talk before their prospects even have the chance to make up their mind. So the reason that silence is hard isn't because you've learned the tactics or techniques, is that your wiring is viewing that silence as danger and something that you need to avoid. Refining that wiring, that same trait with a totally different outcome, is when it moves the needle. You'll close more deals, you'll be more happy in business, it just works. So here's the interesting question. If you know that silence works, why aren't you using it? Why do you over-explain, discount too early, sabotage yourself in the room, potentially try and handle objections that haven't even been raised? It's because you don't understand your raw sales wiring and the parts of it that make you feel uncomfortable. I've got a pattern finder test you can take. Now, this is free, takes 5 to 10 minutes. It'll give you an overview of how you operate, how you see the world, and how you can refine yourself. Links below.